my story. I'm going to try and condense it as much as I can, but it gets very grim towards the end of the story. You need to watch it to the end, because the grim part is the only people that people listen to, really. And people take notice of it, because when your life is on the line, then you tend to wake up a little bit and realise just how bad alcohol is. So I started drinking, a bit of experimentation, 14, 15. I was a little bit self-conscious at school, very tall, thin. Everyone's got their problems at school. We're all a bit self-conscious. People are self-conscious in their 50s and 60s. However, I used to get a bit of a buzz from it, and I felt, wow, this is really good. I felt more confident, more able to do things. It was easier with the school discos, all that sort of crap. You know what I'm saying? When you're young, everyone's a bit worried about how they look, how you're going to approach girls, all this sort of thing. So I went under there, and then I did an engineering course for 4 years. Didn't really like that, but went to college for a while, started drinking a little bit more. I used to play in a band as well. But never uncontrollably, never to the point where I was really drunk or I was falling over or I didn't get in any trouble. Then I moved into the police service. I ended up in central London. By that time I was drinking a bit more. I would say the first one from this experimentation, this is about like number 2, which is steady drinking, became a bit of a party guy. We all went, like most of us, went for a drink after work. I didn't have to drive home because I was on the end of an underground line, Central Line East, so I lived out about an hour away from central London. So I could drink as and when, really. And even in the mid-80s, there was a lot of opportunity to drink. There were still restrictions on hours then, but in London there's always somewhere to get a drink. And there used to be markets open in the morning as well, so after nights we used to go for drinks sometimes. Not hammer it, but still have a drink. So really I was drinking every day. Sometimes only a can or two when I was in early, so I had to get up early, that sort of thing. And that just became a normality for me. Then early 30s, my daughter was born, I had more stress. I'd been promoted in the job. Then I had the responsibility of this baby as well as responsibility of me. Wife was pretty independent, she looked after herself. The marriage wasn't particularly good. That's got nothing to do with the drinking, but it may have added to my consumption. Drinking became a little bit more problematic, as in I used to feel a bit more tired, maybe get worse hangovers. Didn't feel particularly good. The general feeling of malaise, really. Went to the doctors a couple of times. The doctor suggested just come off. I couldn't do it. I just thought, well, this is too much part of my life. I used to go to the local pub. I drank after work, had a few cans in the house. It was causing a few difficulties at home. I still earned good money. Financially, it wasn't a problem. So I just thought, well, I like what I'm doing. I'll put up with the hangovers and keep going. A little bit older, a bit more tired. No major symptoms or any problems at this stage. And then eventually I retired, moved back up north, which was a bad move. And I started drinking more heavily. The marriage completely fell apart then. And I ended up living in an apartment on my own. It's a bad move moving up north. And my whole social life was drinking, really. Had the odd relationship, that didn't last long. So I had a couple of trips to the doctor where I came off. Prior to that, I tried to stop myself and I had a seizure. So if anybody's dependent like I was, check with the doctor before you do anything. I didn't realise you'd have a seizure. Went to the doctor's next day and started me on this diazepam. And I had a few months off. Went back on the drink again. Because it's a habit, isn't it? I missed it and missed the social life, all this sort of thing. And then I'm back on the booze again. And did that 3 times, I think. I was off for about 2 to 3 years each time in the end. Went back to the doctors again, and he said, you've got to have to get a grip of this. So I thought, okay. I moved house, I moved flat to a quieter area. And I thought, I'm going to really push this now. I've got the medication. The medication always worked for me. It's like, this diazepam is, the sort of volume is basically like, well, it was described as alcohol in tablet form. It used to pull me round, and I felt a lot better. As you know, when you feel a lot better, you think, I'm in control of this drink, but you never are. Anyway, when I moved flat, I thought, I'm going to make a really good go of it. So I go to the gym, got myself pulled together. I got a new car, did all these sort of things. And I was off for 8 years, from 2006 to 2014. 2014, I had started a new relationship, and I thought, well, I've been off for 8 years, I'll be fine. I'll be absolutely fine. However, 6 months later, I was fully back on the drink again. So I thought, well, I'll go and see the doctor. And he said, no, you're not having any more diazepam. I said, well, hang on a minute. I was panicking at this point because I knew I couldn't stop myself. Excuse me, I was drinking something. This is non-alcoholic Guinness. So I panicked at that stage. I thought, well, why couldn't you give me the pills? Why couldn't you give me the pills? We can't do it in case you get addicted to them. I said, well, the last time I had any was 8 years ago. He said, doesn't matter. The NHS, sorry, the NHS policy's changed. You can't have the pills. Anyway, saw another doctor. Still couldn't get them. And full panic setting, and I started to self-medicate with drink then. Got in a total mess. So 2014, 15, 16, drank steadily. But I noticed I was getting more and more tired. Started to lose a bit of weight. I wasn't driving very much. And I got into this sort of vicious cycle of going to the pub every day, meeting the same people, stocking up massively with alcohol in the flat. And my whole life was going from A to B in a taxi, from flat to pub, flat to pub. At the time, I was still going for these well-man tests. And I was having blood tests. And I would say to the doctor, you know, obviously I was drinking too much, so I would cut down this and the other. Nothing came up in the blood tests about my health, as in liver-wise. My health was fine. The blood pressure was fine. Everything else was in there. Cholesterol was fine. It was all within limits, should we say. As time progressed, 2017, 2018, got a bit worse. I noticed I had this umbilical hernia, which was starting to swell up in my, basically belly button. And my stomach was hugely distended, expanded, huge, it was massive. I just put it down to the beer, not eating properly. And then this hernia got a little bit bigger and bigger, to the size of maybe a golf ball. And my stomach became very hard to the touch. Now at that point I was sort of frightened to go to the doctor. So you think, well, having another drink, I'll feel better, I'll feel better. I never did feel any better, got worse and worse. So getting to early 2019, I'm feeling really unwell now. I started to lose a lot of weight. And I said to a good friend of mine who I trusted, I said, do I look ill? He was ex-police, actually, funny enough. He said, Steve, you look absolutely dreadful. And I said, why didn't you tell me? He said, well, it's not the sort of thing you tell people, is it? I'd lost a lot of weight by then. So I carried on with my cycle of getting a taxi from the flat to the pub. I thought, oh, this is all going to go away. But never did go away. And one Tuesday night, October 2019, I went to the pub and I was sort of out of the game, really. I'd only had a couple of drinks. I think the liver becomes sensitive when you drink too much and you're in this sort of topping up thing. One of the guys said, you need to get to hospital. If you don't go to hospital tomorrow morning, I'm going to come round and take you myself. So I didn't sleep that night, it was Tuesday night. And Wednesday comes along, I thought, I've got to get to hospital because this guy is going to take me anyway. It'd be an embarrassment. I was feeling terrible, so I had 4 cans of Stella, I'll never forget, 4 cans of Stella, and I packed a bag with a few bits, which I never used in the end. Rang 999 and said, I'm in serious bother here. Anyway, I hadn't been looking after the flat, I hadn't been looking after myself, I think it was a total mess, and I got a blue light ambulance to hospital, then was put into the acute medical ward. This is where it gets grim. So for 2 days I laid there with a huge stomach, feeling unwell, with some sort of drip in the arm, something going in, something going out, all sorts of carry on. And Friday evening, about, I don't know, 11 o'clock PM, this doctor came in. He said, I'm going to take some of this fluid off your stomach. I said, what do you mean fluid? He said, well, you know, because you've been drinking so much, you've got liver issues. We need to drain this fluid off. Now, I said, well, what else is it? He said, you've got this spontaneous bacterial peritonitis as well. This is why we're given these high dosage antibiotics intravenously. Nobody told me this. I didn't know what it was. I was feeling terrified by then. Anyway, they brought this needle, about a foot long, like a knitting needle, and stuck it at the side of my stomach. It took 6 hours to drain this fluid off. And they drained, I think it was 26 litres. Massive amount of fluid. So immediately I felt better. I didn't have this tension in my stomach. I was still feeling rough. A week after that, I was still in hospital. A couple of lads from the pub came along and said, oh, you look a lot better now. I thought, oh, I'm cured, aren't I? Fine. Marvellous. Anyway, after 2 weeks in this hospital, RVI in Newcastle, I got discharged. And I had an appointment to see a specialist at the Freeman Hospital, which is a liver specialist hospital. But there's other things, obviously. I went to see them in November, and I got admitted again. But prior to that, my daughter said, tell this specialist how much you were drinking. You know, 20 pints a day, whatever it was. Because they'll not be shocked, they're used to it. They can't diagnose you unless you tell them. So I get admitted again on the morning. That was a Monday morning. I always remember, I'm good on dates and times and this sort of thing. Anyway, the doctor comes in and he says in the afternoon, we're going to drain this fluid off again. But there's only one thing worrying me. He said, your sodium level's low. I didn't know anything about the sodium level. But he said, we've still got to get this fluid off because it might get infected again with this SBP, spontaneous bacterial peritonitis. Anyway, he did that. All afternoon it drained off, drains into a bag from your stomach, from the needle into a tube into a bag. Did that. Horrible line there with all this. But there was other people in this ward with exactly the same issues as me. However, it got to about 7 o'clock at night, they'd done all the draining. I didn't feel like anything of these. I started to feel really weary about 9 o'clock. So I said to the nurse, can you get that doctor back? I need to speak to somebody, I don't feel well at all. Anyway, so the doctors are busy. They're always busy on them. However, another hour or so passed, I'm going to get somebody to sit with you. And I could feel my speech slurring. Everything seemed to slow down like that. Next thing I woke up, bright as a button, with about 4 or 5 people, I think about 5 people around me. 2 of them are doctors, both female, from the endocrine department or something. And 2 porters who said, you're now going to intensive care. I thought, well, I'm not going to intensive care. They said, you're going now. So took me straight down to intensive care. This was 4 AM. I remember going and thinking, because there's a clock in there. It's ambient light, never changes, so you don't know whether it's day or night. Bottom of the clock. So in there's 2 surgeons in there. I thought, well, they're not for me. Then one of them walked over to me and said, we haven't got any time for anaesthetic. I'm going to put this needle down through here. I've still got a scar. I don't know if you can see it, but I probably can't. Straight down into there to try and bring your sodium level up. So I was in intensive care for about a week. Everyone was told, you know, you're probably not going to survive this. I was so close to going to a coma. Anyway, I managed to survive that, would you believe? Got out of intensive care, then I was in an ordinary ward for about 4 weeks after that. So my sodium level had gone so low that I had what they call tonic-clonic seizures, which can be very dangerous. That was in November. So after that, I was still getting all the swelling, all the ascites. It just wouldn't go away. So they gave me these diuretic pills, like basically water tablets, because what happens when you've got this damage, you retain water, so you're on a strict fluid intake regime. and you can't have any food with salt in it. And no added salt. I still don't have any added salt. That didn't work. Then did a couple of other things. Still, ascites fluid was still building up. So we were a bit of a loss, really. And things were looking quite nip and tuck then, still a year later. However, I was still willing to fight on, you know, and did this little procedure which managed to get rid of the ascites fluid. And if you haven't got the ascites fluid, then you're not going to get this SBP, this spontaneous bacterial peritonitis. So at that point I was called decompensated liver damage. So after about 2 years now in the hospital, getting to 2021, I was in a wheelchair, couldn't walk really, I just had to be looked after all the time. I managed to pull myself around a bit. It was after my dad died in July 2021. I thought I'm going to make an effort here, start to walk a little bit, 5 yards, 10 yards and all this sort of thing. But this umbilical hernia built up so badly that one day it started to bleed. So I was rushed to hospital and they put 2 blast bandages on me to try and stop this bleeding. I was taken to resus. I'd never been into resus as a patient. I was out of my head with fear. And there was a surgeon there with his kit ready, and he said, we're going to try and stitch this up. If it doesn't work, then there's not much more we can do. Basically, that's what he said. They're putting all sorts of things in my arms, and there's an oxygen, a whole lot. And he did that. And then, this was all during COVID, remember? And they managed to get me to another hospital where they did an operation to sort out the hernia. And when that was all done, things started to settle down. So there is hope out there to get back to normal. But it took me, after that, another 2 years, year and a half, 2 years to start walking, get my diet right, but you've got to fight for your life. This is how dangerous this poison alcohol is. It's so addictive. It's so readily available, and it will kill you in the end, because it's killed a lot of people I know. And I'm the wrong side of 60, and there's a lot of people gone before me. But now, my liver functions good, I'm healthy, I'm fit, I can do whatever I want. There is hope out there, no matter what state you're in. The thing to do, concentrate on the good days, concentrate on being sober. Everyone gets thoughts of, oh, I'm going to have a drink, I can control it now. Do not relapse. I could say it 1,000 times. If you relapse, every time you relapse, things will get worse. Now, I've heard of a few stories that you may have done as well. People having a full liver transplant, and they'll drink again. They're dead within a few weeks, a few months, a few years. Please be careful with this stuff. If you want me to cover any other subjects, you want to make a comment, please do so. Please share the video to anybody who might be struggling, because there's thousands of people struggling with alcohol every day. And it's a fallacy that people are drinking less, people are drinking more. And there's more people dying of liver, well, not just liver, but alcohol-related diseases and illness. And even if you don't have any major organ issues, it's very disabling. It causes domestic problems, it causes financial problems, and all sorts of issues. There is nothing good about alcohol. If you like the video, then please subscribe. There are lots of other ones on the channel, and I'll speak to you all soon.